Photo Studio 2 is a powerful tool for archiving, editing, and presenting your digital photographs in a Casablanca video production. In order to use Photo Studio 2, we do need a couple of items on your Casablanca machine. Number one is you do need to be running 4.1D as your Smart Edit version or above. You also need 256 megabytes of RAM. The RAM is located when you click on your version box in the system information. It'll list your memory. If you have less than 256 megabytes, you're going to want to contact your area dealer and talk to them about putting in a larger size RAM stick for your Casablanca. To activate your Photo Studio 2, simply go to Install Product. At this point, scroll down and you can go ahead and insert your All Software Smart Card or your All Software CD. Allow that to read and register the effects that we have. And find Photo Studio 2 in the listing, which will say Hidden, and click on Activate. If it's a program you haven't activated before, a keypad will appear for you to enter in the 12-digit code that your dealer provided for you. Once you've activated your program, you can go ahead and cancel out of the menu and eject your CD. And now we're ready to go into the Edit menu and go under Special and find your Photo Studio 2 program. You can start the program by clicking on Start Photo Studio 2. And in Photo Studio 2, we're going to come in here and break down some of these menus. The first one's the Memory Card CD menu. This is where we actually import your digital photographs. Now remember, the Casablanca's Photo Studio 2 was made for working with digital photographs. If you have some photos that were worked on a PC, they may not display correctly in the bin for their order, or you may run into some other limitations there. But as long as you're saving your images in the digital card format using JPEGs, you should be able to import those directly into your Photo Studio 2. At this point, we already have a CD that's been placed in there, one that was just developed from our area photo store, a little Kodak CD. And we chose the input as CD. If you had connected a digital card reader, you'd be able to select additional options here like compact flash or memory sticks, etc. Or you have your smart media drive if you had saved some JPEGs on a smart card. Here we're going to use choose input and say CD, and at this point if there was a CD or a card reader, if you'd selected one of the card formats, it would then look at your CD and show you a display of your directories. These directories can also be called folders, but folders that have a light color here basically mean they are open. Folders that are a darker shade here mean they are closed. If you'd like to see what's inside these folders, you can simply open them to see the listing of your different pictures. You can choose how you want these pictures displayed, so you can decide what photos you'd like to grab out of the import section and move in and work with. You can use these arrow lines here to go line by line or row by row to see what's listed in that folder, or use this to scroll up or down through the listing. The little black dot basically means that this is a subdirectory or a subfolder of a main one. If you want to select a folder and close it, you can simply hit Close or Open to open the folder. Down below we have the choice of Getting Photos. You can either select the entire folder and hit Get Photos, which would grab every picture here inside this folder, or you can select an individual picture. For instance, we can scroll down in the list here and select maybe a picture of this dog. We can also select this one. If you'd like to see the pictures you're looking at, you can simply hit Preview to see an enlarged picture, or you can go through the list photo by photo to see the different pictures that you'd like to work with, and choose Get Photo even in the preview section here to grab that picture. If you were using a digital card format, you would have the delete button active, so you could delete images right off of your card right here in the import section. You can also choose to look at your particular folder in question and have things broken apart into subfolders based on one of these times. If you turn it off, then it's not going to have any subdirectories, it's just going to be the one main folder and allow you again to get photos from either individual or from the main folder itself as in a group batch. This little hotkey takes you back out to the main Photo Studio 2 menu, and now we can look at the Photos section. This is a small breakdown here of organizing your photos in the Sort menu. Here you have the freedom to scroll through your list of different folders and different pictures. You can grab a photo, simply left-click on it, left-click again to grab it, and you can slide and drag and organize your pictures into a certain order. You can also look at your photos in the list. If you'd like to flip your photos around, you can highlight a picture that might have been shot in a different aspect. Click on rotate and you can rotate your image, one of the options that give you under one of the options that the rotate gives you. You can also look at your listing here and choose to delete individual pictures if you'd like. Remember, there is no undo button here for your delete button. So if you do delete one of these samples or one of these pictures from Photo Studio 2, you would have to go back to the import section to re-import it into this photo bin. Down here at the end, we're looking through a great list of photos that we've imported in here, and here's the 2 pictures at the end of the list that we used as an individual grab. We also have the option here in the Sort menu. You can always tell what menu you're in down here. It's a button called Sort Out. Sort Out allows you to create a new folder to take pictures and put in that you might want to save and use later, or maybe delete as a group. If you have a folder selected, again, you can always open it or close that folder depending on what you'd like to do with it. Other options we have here is under Special. Special allows you to sort the photos in that folder. You can create a brand new empty folder and move all the following pictures in this bin that are behind it into that one folder. So we can also even remove a folder and keep the pictures that were there. So we'll hit Remove Folder, and now it deleted that Sort Out folder for you. If you do have some images, such as these shots from a pumpkin patch, that are all loaded up here under this pumpkin folder. You can see we have a whole list of folders here, new folder, flowers, and additional pictures. We can actually use this button called Special and split into 2 folders if you'd like to take a group of images and split them into 2 separate folders based on where you're at in the middle of that main folder. So we could split a group out here and split a group from back here. So it's all about which picture you have selected and what comes after it, and what you're going to do in creating an empty folder, moving photos into it, or splitting it into 2 folders. Down below we have a list of hotkeys. These take you immediately to any of these lists of menus within the photo section. We also have Show Detail, which allows you to jump in and see in enlarged detail the current photo you had selected in the bin. And you can also scroll through these one at a time. If you'd like to change the photo, you can left click on Select and switch which picture you're looking at and load that back into the Show Preview menu. If you'd like to zoom in on part of the picture, you can click on this little box here, and using your trackball, set the cursor on an area on the screen and left click, and that will give you a zoomed in location on the screen. Another button we have here is called Compare. Compare allows you to look at multiple pictures in 4 screens. So here we see a grouping of some T-ball shots, and each one of these can be left clicked on, and you can choose to select a different photo to go into that group. Here in this case we can look at these pictures of the T-ball and load in a different T-ball shot, so you can get a good comparison and get better detail as an overall group. In the Edit menu, this is where you can do further manipulations to your pictures. Again, you can scroll through your lists either by the row keys here or the elevator, or go to the top of the list or go to the very bottom of the list. We can also highlight a different picture and we can give it a different name. By left clicking on this bar, you can give yourself a chance to come in and type in a different name if you want to have a name for this particular clip. So each one of these pictures can be named or identified individually here in the Edit menu. One of the most important buttons to get familiar with is this one called Copy. If you want to do anything to your pictures, manipulate them with filters or rotate them or give them a cropping, you might want to copy your picture so that way you still always have the original and you can be doing your work on the copy. For instance, if we use the button Crop to do a cropping of this picture, we have different types of formats that we're going to look at when we put this into the Casablanca. If this is going to be looked at on a 4:3 presentation, then the formatting will adjust and allow you to size only in a 4:3 ratio. If we're using one of the other options like Free, it's going to scale it automatically based on where you set your edges. So now it's kind of free scalable for you to adjust where you want to crop the image. Simply taking your cursor and putting it on the screen here will change the little hand, so you can left click and grab and drop down your cropping edges, again based on what kind of format you're going to be using. And when you hit OK, it's going to rewrite that photo and make those changes. So now we see the original here and the new changed cropped photo, which you can then use your Show Detail hotkey to jump right in and see how you've zoomed in on the picture. Back under Edit here, if you want to work under Edit further, you can also do things such as rotate your image. Also, that was found back in Sort. You can delete your image. Again, this is a permanent delete, so if you do delete the image, again, you'll have to re-import it back into the Casablanca if you want to load it back in. And the last button here is called Create Scene. Create Scene is indicating that whatever picture you currently have selected, when you hit Create Scene, that's the picture that's going to load into the Scene bin back in your Edit menu on the Casablanca. It lets you take those pictures, each one at a time if you want, and set how long, how many seconds that scene will be. If you want to grab a group, we can grab a group, such in this case I grabbed this folder called Wedding, or WED, and I can hit Create Scene, and it will take the entire folder and all 31 pictures that are in it and build that at the very end of my scene bin. Under Filter, when you click on Filter, you'll see that you have a list of photos again, the main photos that we've been working with. And depending on which picture you have selected, you can come in here and choose to make adjustments to things like the filters or your levels of color or brightness. So for instance, we have here a picture of this flower, and we can come in here to Control Photo, and we can start adjusting different aspects of this picture based on your brightness, contrast, and saturation, maybe a gamma, or the RGBs. If you'd like to use some pre-selected filters, the Photo Studio 2 does have some in here under the Filter Archives that you can click on Load, and here gives you a little preview section to see what your photo looked originally and what it would look like with one of these pre-loaded filters that Photo Studio 2 has for you. I might leave it set to brighter and hit OK, and you'll see that the photo has now been changed. If you wanted to keep these changes, you would simply hit OK. Now your original photo, because I did not make a copy, has now been changed to have this detail on it. Another option that we have here in the Filter menu is this one called Red Eye. I'm going to take a picture here of these two boys that have a problem with some red eye coming in based on the flash of the camera. Simply take your cursor to place it over the area you'd like to focus on and left click to zoom in. Down below we have our menu to move up or out of the way or shrink and enlarge. And we have our color wheel, which you can take a look at in the Smart Edit 4 addendum to get an idea of how this works. But basically I'm going to come into this slider here and set an area of the spectrum for maybe more of a brownish color. I'm also going to take off some of the strength of this color to make it a little more transparent. And now when you use Colorize, if you take your cursor and place it over a solid color and left click, you can simply grab that and fill it in with the color you've chosen in your color wheel. You'll notice that there's no tolerance controls here in the menu. So this is going to be very specific in nature, looking for solid colors to key out with color that you've chosen in your color palette, but you won't have a lot of adjustments you can do here. You'll notice if I chose Colorize on maybe some skin, it'll try to fill in with that, but you do have the option for undo. If you want to keep these changes, you would simply click on Save. If you wanted to get out of here, you could click on Exit. Again, just another reminder that if I did want to keep those changes, it probably would have been good to go back into the Edit menu, make a copy in case the changes that you made were ones that you did not want to keep. So now I still have an original shot. I can now reference the boys, and of course I can come into the Red Eye filter, use that, and colorize these parts of the eye. Now when I hit Save, it'll rewrite the photo, and I can now reference this picture back here in the photo bin. So when I enlarge it, you can see this is a lot better for the eyes, a little more brown instead of those strong reds. Also under Filter, there's an option here called Retouch. So if you wanted to come in and clean up some areas of the photo, for instance, maybe we have a shot of the ballpark here, and we wanted to go into Retouch. We come in here and focus in on a specific part of the photo, And we can use one of these options here to adjust and fix information on the screen. This is your little button to choose what kind of pencil tip you'd like to retouch with, whether it's a square pencil tip or a rounded pencil tip. And each one of these that you left click on can be given blur attributes to make the edges softer or make the pencil tip larger. We have two different types of ways to use this cloning tool. The first one here is called an aligned picture or align clone tool, so that whatever I grab on the screen, it's going to grab here and place this information on the target area that I draw. So for instance, maybe this cameraman is in the shot, we'd like to remove him. I'm going to come up here and simply left click on this ground, so that now when I take it over to a target area, which is this little red dot, when I left click to drop it down and I drag down my pencil, you can see it's basically copying where the green circle is. It's copying that target area. When you left click to make your decision, then it will clear out and then you'll be ready to try it again if you wanted to. If I right click out and I use this other pencil tool, this one is basically one that allows you to do a copy of a stationary object. So if I wanted to click on this one, again based on my pencil tip, I could come right in here and grab maybe this little baseball shape logo and come in here and left click to drop that down once. You'll notice if I drag this around, it's basically just repeating this image around and around. If I don't want to keep these changes, then I'm going to want to exit out of here and try again. In this case, I'll probably stick to the clone area where I'm actually duplicating an area on the screen, which I'll use this ground right here next to the cameraman. And again, left click and drag will repeat where you've got your green shape over here going to the target area. Destination area to target area. If I right click back out, I can now click on save, and that would save the new information that you retouched. So retouch is a great way to clean up edges on a picture or items in a photo that you wanted to remove or place in a different area. The next section here is called Special. This is an area where you can do things such as animation or create collages. Under the Animation section, if you left click under Animation, you can see here that we have a few animation pictures already loaded in here. If we want, we can click on New to take a picture that we'd like to work with. In this case, we'll scroll through the list and look at all the different pictures that we have to work with. And we can choose this one of the dog on the couch and hit OK. And when you open it up, it'll default to its usual settings. It's usually a 7-second effect. And here we have two pointers. This one here, when you left click on it, is a starting point. And you can take this and put it wherever you'd like. So we're starting on a close-up of the dog. This X box, this here is also known as a keyframe, but this one here is our last keyframe. So whatever we're setting up the attributes of this box for, whether we're grabbing on the handles by taking our cursor on the edges, or we're coming in here to edit that keyframe, which I can center and make minimal on a zoom. And what will happen is when you use this play button, you can kind of preview your effect. And we see here we're now doing a slow pull out from the close-up of the dog to the enlargement. Each one of these pointers can be selected and been given a setting, so you can have it pause in before it gets larger. The pause in and out buttons basically allow you to set how long the camera should remain stationary over the photo at the beginning and at the end of the active path. You can use the accelerate button here to see how quickly the camera is going to accelerate from a stationary position to a moving state. The slowdown option is basically allowing you to set how quickly the camera decelerates from its moving state to the stationary still state. You have options under either the accelerate or the slowdown to change if there's going to be any motion, slow, medium, or fast. If you'd like this motion to be faster, you can simply left click on the motion length and increase the motion length so the photo takes a longer time to occur. You can see now we're taking longer to pull out from this photo. You can actually also enter in more pointers if you'd like as well. So for instance, if I come back out of here, I can hit OK to keep this, and we have a new picture. Here's another one of a wedding, but if we wanted to load a new one in, you could simply click New, come into one of your folders to reference, and we'll take this group shot of the wedding. This is a wedding party here. And we can take again your starting pointer, left click on your second pointer, and you can assign what's called waypoints or markers. If you want to bend the path, just simply left click on this line and it'll set up little markers that do not have any kind of controls other than bending the motion path. So instead of this photo going straight across, it's going to kind of pull up and arch and curve over through the folks. Simply highlighting on the pointer and right clicking will delete those individual markers, or you can hit New to set up a whole new key point so that each key point can be given specific commands. So for instance, I might take this last key point out of the way and move this one a little more over this direction. So what's going to happen now is that this photo is going to kind of curve across the screen and move to this area. And on the very last one, I'll go to Next to move to the last keyframe. I can edit it and make it centered and minimalized. If I want, I can come back to this key point here. I can come into Edit and maybe change its position a little bit. Maybe a little bit of its zoom to maybe have it a little farther out than it was. The factor button you're seeing there, if that's larger than 1, then we're getting up into video resolution, so you're losing your high-res image. So I'm going to take this and pull it back a little bit to keep the quality pretty good. I'd also mention that if you are using the pan and scan animation effect here, then remember that you want to use high-res images. If you loaded in pictures that are 720 by 480 or smaller, then it's going to tell you that the perimeters of that picture are too small to apply an animation effect. Each one of these pointers can be selected, be given different commands here on your camera settings. So we can make them speed up or slow down based on what you'd like to do with the picture. And then you can always use this play button to get a preview of how the animation is going to look. Just remember that this is a compressed image, so the motion's not going to be as smooth while you watch it in compression as when you take it out and actually build it. So when you come back out here into the animation menu, you can see the pictures that you put in there new, and the little red icon up here, these little camera icons, basically tell you, is this photo created or not with the animation path. So I'm going to choose this dog shot that we had here, and I'm going to go ahead and create it. And we're going to increase the speed of this for the purpose of this demo. When an animation has been created, then you'll have the play button that you can play to get the full screen preview of basically how the animation is going to look when this goes built into your scene bin or played out. When you do hit create, this does move this scene also right directly into the end of your scene bin, so now this animation is part of your clips back when we turn into the Casablanca's main edit menu. We also have the option to go back into these pictures and hit edit to come back in and change these animation paths and readjust them and insert new pointers or markers, whatever you'd like to do. You can always come right back in and work on those pictures under edit. If you want to get rid of some of your work, you can always delete your images, or also again you can always make copies if you want to work with an animation path on this photo, and on the second one come in with a copy and make small adjustments to this one's path. Back in the Photo Studio main edit menu, another option under here under special is called collage. And what collage allows you to do is create little collages or montages of several pictures onto one. You can click on New to select your photo, and here we're looking at a background box that you can change under Options and choose what color you'd like your background to be. You can add auxiliary lines if you need to have this show a line for your border for a presentation or for printing out if you want. They do not show up on your final product, of course. And now we can use New Box to bring in pictures that you'd like to work with. For instance, maybe we want to have a little photo montage of this T-ball. We can use this shot of the boy first as our first photo, and we can come in here and drag and size your photo. If you want the photo to be free scalable, you can set this to free. If you want it to be source, then it's going to adjust based on the aspect ratio of that picture. So now when I use this to squash it, you're going to see it's going to still try to keep that original aspect ratio. If I want to add more boxes, I can hit Add New Box, and I can grab some in-action photos, maybe of the boy at bat, and place this up in the corner, and get a new box, and I can try to find the boy maybe on the bag, and put that in the opposite corner. We also have the option under the Options menu here, is you can actually have this snap to an invisible grid. This raster is a grid, so if you want to have wide grid, invisible grid borders on there so that when you move these photos they all stay aligned, and you can have them snap to those grid points based on these snap sizes. So with this information active, I've activated a raster size, I've activated a snap, so it'll snap to those. When I hit New Box to put on a picture, you'll notice that when I'm moving this around, see how it's snapping to these invisible grids? So if I wanted to take a series of photos and make them all aligned in a row, it's going to be a lot easier to do that like this than if I had them freely movable on the screen. You can also come in and select which box you'd like to work with, and click on Edit Box to come in here either to rotate the box in any direction that you'd like. So each one of these can be rotated. Each one can be given a border, so if you want to activate a border around it and choose what kind of color border you want, whether it's a solid color, maybe a pattern you chose from your pattern wheel if you want to open up the image pool options that are available. You can also set up a bleed, so you can use a bleed gradient from one color to the next, in this case black to white, and maybe set the direction of the gradient to go from black to white in this direction. And that will load in that information into the border around your photo. Photos can also be given a individual shadow, so if you want to click on shadow, we increase the shadow so it looks like it's casting a little more depth in front of this picture, and have the shadow cast off in a certain direction if you wanted to, and the color of your shadow you'd like to have. So a lot of fun ways to create some really interesting montages if you want to have photos placed on top of one another. You can still select the picture you'd like and change the picture inside it if you wanted to, using anything from your list of photos. You can also choose the picture, highlight it, and choose it to be in front or behind what other photo you might have had in a box. The Remove box basically allows you to take whatever photo you currently have selected and delete it, or select all boxes on the screen and remove them. Once you hit OK, it's going to now create a new collage for you. So you'll have a collage located right here in the collage bin, and you can do one of two things with it. Actually, three. We can either print this photo right out to your HP printer using one of the approved printer types that you might find on page 7 of your Photo Studio manual. You can hit Create Scene to build, based on a number of seconds, your scene into the scene bin in your Edit menu. And you can also hit Create Photo. And Create Photo actually loads your collage right into the photo bin, so you can use this in your presentations. Don't worry, you can always come right back into the collage and re-edit. So if you want to come back in here and work on this same picture and make adjustments to your pictures, if you didn't like it, you certainly can. Or you can make copies of it or delete it. Again, there's no undo button for your delete, so do get in the habit of hitting copies if you're going to make any manipulations or changes to one particular collage, or you want to keep it or not. Let's take a look at a few examples of animation and collages that have been done on the Photo Studio 2 to give you an idea of what you can do with it. Finally, the Photo Studio 2 allows you one option called Presentations, which means you can take these pictures and these collages and output them as an analog presentation. So kind of like the old slideshows or our overhead projector, is we can come in here to Presentation and go under Edit, and just like your storyboard back in the Scene bin and Edit bin, we can take these pictures and choose which ones we want to work with, in this case maybe the weddings, and insert them in a row down here in this little bin. This is part of your presentation. So these would now play out based at 4 seconds, or you could individually highlight a photo and click on a length to set up an individual length for each of these pictures. You can scroll through the list one at a time, or simply left click on the picture you'd like to work with. Whatever one you currently select, when you hit play, it will start playing from that point, and it will play to the end of your storyboard. You can always stop your presentation by hitting both trackball buttons to come back out of here. And we can also come over here to New and insert maybe a color or a pattern to begin this particular slideshow, which is also what this little mini storyboard is called, slideshow. You can remove your stills. You can increase the length or replace them with one of the other stills up above. You can always open up this little box here, which is your presentation options. In areas of the photo that are not filled in, such as vertical photos or smaller horizontal photos, you can have a black or a white border around them, or you can use a crop so it immediately jumps in and crops that picture. So for instance, let's come in here to this picture. When I set this to crop and hit OK, you'll now notice it's going to crop in center on that picture. So instead of seeing the borders, we're going to go right into the photo. We also have the ability to scale it, so if you want to scale these images, you can. Usually you'll probably have it set to black border if you want. And you can also set up, what's fun, is a default length, so every picture in your slideshow can be given the same length. If you want to save your presentation, you can come in here to Presentation Archives and save it. If you want to load a previous presentation, you can come in to delete the presentation you're currently working on. Or you can come back into Presentation Options here and hit Load to load that previous presentation you worked on. So here we have a couple other pictures that were saved as a previous slideshow. If you set your production to play as manually, meaning that this presentation, when it was saved, was set as a manual presentation, so that when you hit play, these pictures are only going to advance if you left click on your trackball. So this photo will stay up as long as you want on the screen until you left click. Especially useful if you want to do a presentation of these photos for a large audience. And finally, we have a category down here called Miscellaneous. Under Miscellaneous, you have the options to, number one, under Settings, is set up your printer. So if the HP printer is attached, you can adjust these control filters to it. You have your interface settings, which allow you to change how the trackball is going to be seen. Currently on the version of Photo Studio 2 software, we are only using 2 buttons, the large buttons on your trackball. So if you do have it set to 4 buttons, you could run into problems when you're doing your animations. So make sure this is set to 2 buttons. And finally, under Info, we're currently using the version 2.1a. Make sure you're running this version or above, or to get more information about the Photo Studio 2's upgrades and current operating versions, you might want to check our website, www.macrosystem.us, to see what version on Photo Studio 2 we're operating under, and if there are higher versions than this, what kind of patches or what new features it offers for you. Under Print Export, here's an option where we can come in here and select maybe a photo or a group of photos that we want to export either to your memory card reader or onto a writable CD. So this is a great way to save these pictures and transport them from one location to the next, or store them onto another card format if you plan to come back and reuse these over and over again. You always have the preview button to preview your particular picture that's in question. You can use your eject button here to pop open your tray if you're going to be using a CD. And you can also use the printing commands here to say what kind of print aspect do you want to put out onto paper. The last option in Photo Studio 2 is your Start Presentation. Based on the settings that you did in Edit with these pictures and the information set up under the options, it's going to play out your presentation when you left-click Start Presentation. This means it'll play without your little play, pause, stop buttons down in the lower corner, so that this can be put right out onto screen for your audience. So Photo Studio 2 is an excellent program for allowing you to take your images into the Casablanca using things like memory cards or CDs, sorting the pictures, editing the pictures, putting them into pan and scan effects like in the Ken Burns movies, applying collages, or even taking your pictures even further and doing a presentation for a large audience with your Casablanca attached. You can even take it further by printing it out or saving these images onto different types of formats. Photo Studio 2, a great program to add to your macro system to increase its power, flexibility, and amazement that you can create with your Casablanca video productions.